SIRTOBA Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome. The wait is over.
Let's get this thing started.
Go! Hello, everyone. We are live for episode 96 of the In or Out Sports Debate. I am your host, Drew Willingham, along with this week's special returning panelist, currently a two-time Vault of Fame inductee. He is one of the co-hosts of the Wrestling Realm. Give it up for Mr. Has III with Hazmat Photography, my man, Mr. Brother Hugh Scott.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. How y'all doing out there?
Hey, man, everybody's doing great out here. We've been steamrolling through these 90-some episodes we got to this point, man, and you now making it here for the third time. We've done some great things in the last time you were here, we had the Quads episode, the famous episode where my computer that I had at the time took a dump during the show, had to finish the show with a tablet just to get through. Thank you, StreamYard, for having a pretty decent setup to where I could get through on that. But you guys carried it for like a good 90 seconds. I just kind of like vanished out of nowhere. And you guys were there, just the three of y'all. It turned into the Wrestling Realm for 90 seconds.
It did.
Just wondering what happened. The internet took me down.
Hey, man, you must have mentioned Vincent McMahon's name. Oops. I'm sorry.
Hey, we're going to get to that again in this episode, as you spoke a little early on that one. But hey, to pay homage to all those previous episodes, as always, we have to do one thing before we get started. That's pay homage to the Vault of Fame.
Acknowledge me.
Man, you took me back. This is why this show was so important, and this is why I am personally validating and vouching for this show. If you are anybody in media, sports, professional wrestling, anything, you need to be on In or Out Sports Debate with my man Drew Willingham, because this has got to be one of the most fun things I've ever done in a long time.
Ladies and gentlemen, that right there is the In or Out Sports Debate's Vault of Fame, which you can check out here on these audio platforms listed here, as well as on these sites on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, as well as at SIRTOBA.com, where the struggle is real to be awesome. Just like Darrell said on episode 95, you want to throw a little bit of Willie Buck action to cash.app/$DWillie87. You can hit me up on the Cash App if you want to make a little donation to this show. Again, we are here for episode 96. Brother Hugh Scott is here to get us on this show with some action when it comes to some wrestling talk. because my man is from the wrestling realm, and we've got 5 great topics tonight, 3 of them consisting of wrestling. And with that being said, let's go ahead and take this into round 1. Before we do that, we have to let's get ready to rumble.
Round 1.
Here with round 1, Vincent Kennedy McMahon needs to just go away and get as far from WWE as possible. How do you feel about this, brother Hugh? Do you agree with the statement at hand? Are you in or are you out on this one?
I'm in on this one, man. I'm on. Well, first of all, I'm in because we can't say his name on air because he causes problems for us. You know what I'm saying? So look, right now Triple H is doing his thing creatively. He's keeping us captivated. He's captivating TV going on right now. I'm interested. This is the best I've been interested, the most I've been interested in wrestling since like the Attitude Era with Austin and McMahon. Like storylines are on point. The development of the rosters, they're all on point now. They're kind of evening out. You have a third brand coming up with NXT. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. It's not minor league, major leagues anymore. They're all almost on the same plane. I'm loving it.
Hey, you definitely bring up some great points there with how things have shifted since he originally stepped down, some time back. And I have to agree with you on this. I'm definitely in on this as well. All right, people.
Let me talk to you.
It's time to break it down when it comes to Vinnie Mac. And do not even try to come after me, Vinnie Mac, and say the most famous words of "you're fired," because I didn't even bring you up image-wise on this show because of what Brother Hugh just said in his opening statement. I didn't want you to try to take me down.
What?
Said I didn't want you to try to take me down.
What?
Ain't nobody got time for that. And you know why?
I am the game. And I am that damn good.
Absolutely. So back on task. So we got a little bit off the rails for a second. When it comes to this topic at hand right here, and this guy right here, Vinnie Mac, you've done some great things for professional wrestling over your course of your career. You have made some goofed up, that's probably the best way to put it, some decisions behind the scenes. And especially when you look at the graphic that we have on hand for here, you look at how your behavior has been behind the scenes, regardless if it's been with talent or people that are working with talent. And you've been acting inappropriately. And, of course, maybe you are behaving now because you have this big sale that's going on with Endeavor. And congrats to you. You deserve to have that situation. You've built a great empire and have built and laid a great foundation over the course of these decades and deserve your people to pay homage to you for that, okay? However, there's other people in the past that have made bad mistakes when it comes to within the world of professional wrestling. And we can't pay homage to them because of what they've done outside the ring, because that overshadows what they did in the ring. And there's certain things that you have done behind the scenes that kind of do overshadow what you've done within the ring and what you've done within your promotion and with what's going on currently today. There's about a few decisions that have been leaked out there that you have gone behind the scenes and altered, and it is definitely taken a direction of whatever that story was in a completely different direction, to where the fans didn't like it, to where the talent didn't like it. And when you have people that aren't happy with what they're doing in a work environment, it's not going to boil over well for the greater future, and especially within a sale that you're trying to do. So it's okay on the business side of things if you want to help with the dollars and the pennies and cents to the dollar and everything and getting the thing sold. But you involved with creative is definitely something that I don't think is a great idea going forward, because
Absolutely.
I get it. You enjoy being a part of it. And there was a time, and especially during the Attitude Era, where that was where he was in his prime of as far as running that company. And with what he did and the talent that he had, definitely had a hand to do with what was going on with that. Now, when you put all that in perspective, today he's definitely outgrown that. There's nothing wrong with it. At the end of the day, when it comes to where your turn on the ride is over and you got to step off the bus, there's no shame into admitting it. You just need to go enjoy retirement, or maybe do something else, play some golf or whatever. You're still in great shape. But at the same time, when it comes to running this company, like you said, Triple H and others, even his daughter, were doing a better job, but she had to step down because he came back.
Right.
So
I agree with you 100%, man. Business side of things, he can still dabble in it, every once in a while, but leave the creativity to Triple H. Papa H is throwing the dust everywhere right now, and I'm loving it.
Absolutely. We got a few comments that are getting us started throughout the first round or whatnot. And Ike doesn't give a fuck is in the house saying, let's go. Ike is back. Captain Troll is back saying number 96. Brother Hugh is back, says Ike.
Yes, sir.
Giving the shout out to Hugh there. Mickey Delaney in the house checking us out through Facebook saying, hi, Drew Willingham. Hi, Has the Third. How are you guys? Hey, doing great.
I'm
Brother
great.
Hugh
I'm
looks
cool.
great himself.
Mm-hmm. Always.
So,
thank you.
yeah, and he's wearing his Proud Wrestling fan shirt as he's doing great himself. And I've got the Wrestler Realm shirt on
There
tonight.
we go.
Shout out to those guys right there. Great content on Wednesday nights. I've been working Wednesday evening, so I haven't had a chance to be catching them live lately, but I've been going back and watching it, when I get home. Still producing great content, talking about one of the most relevant things within the world of wrestling, and not just one promotion, but multiple promotions. And as well, you got SummerSlam coming up, so definitely check them out for the coverage that's going to be coming up between now and SummerSlam for that.
I appreciate that. Thank you, man.
Hey, anytime, brother. You are not fried. You are that damn good. I think you meant you were not fired. Thanks, bro. I appreciate it. Yeah, definitely. When it comes to old Vincent Kennedy McMahon, and when it comes to saying that stuff, am I fired? Oh,
Hell to the no, to the no, 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 no. Hell no, no, to the no, no.
even though we've all faced adversity at some points, some harder than others. We're not going to sit here and judge them. I still feel like within the past couple weeks that this is going.
I think I got my swagger back. Oh.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Absolutely. So thank you guys for staying up with the comments. We've got Sick Diggy in the house all the way from Norway. Sick Diggy is here saying, what's good, everybody? Saying
Yes,
the
sir.
In or Out Sports Debate is brought to you by Sleazy Meaty Subs. Don't toss the salad. Don't beat the meat. Just enjoy the subs. Says Sick Diggy. But he
I wasn't
also
ready.
Yeah, I'm not ready either whenever you post that stuff, but I got to read it anyway just because it's entertainment for you, me, and everybody else. Vince McMahon is a control freak. He'll never relinquish power until he kicks the bucket. And that's definitely been proven currently.
Yeah. Yeah.
To this exact moment. Absolutely. So sorry, Drew. I'm a damn bad spell. Hey, man, it's all good. It happens to everybody. Try if you can with whatever application you're using to see if they have T9 or any type of autocorrect. They do sometimes have that stuff out there in these streets that can help you out a little bit. He was never fired. You quit and waved like Bautista.
Ooh.
Sick Diggy, elaborate. You were never fired. You quit and waved like Bautista. Not sure.
I'm not sure about that yet.
We're talking about Vinnie Mac. I don't know, because when it comes to that, I need you to tell me. Come on, I need to break it down like that.
English, motherfucker, do you speak it?
Come on, guys. I need y'all to help me out a little bit. One more time.
English, motherfucker, do you speak it?
Now, even Jack Nicholson said it best.
You can't handle the truth.
All right, back on track, fellas. We've gone through one great round here for round one. He's talking about me. I don't know. But, you're talking about me. I don't know. Sick. Elaborate. We'll get back to that here in a minute. But other than that, we've gone through one great round out here in these streets when it comes to Vinnie Mac for the first round, talking about some WWE action. Let's shift some gears a little bit, go into a different sport that we both know and love, and that is a little bit of baseball action. Let's shift it to round two.
Round two.
And here with round two, the Baltimore Orioles will continue to function like a well-oiled machine throughout the 2023 MLB season. And with this being your team there, Brother Hugh,
Yes,
you
sir.
definitely picked them out very well. He's even got that fly jacket on, man. I'm jelly of that. Those colors look nice and right there with the
There we
old
go.
school Baltimore Orioles hat right there. Let's go. That's what I'm talking about.
Now we feeling good.
There you go. You got to, especially when you talk about your team in this atmosphere right here. And with what's been going on, with their current record being 57-36, how are you feeling with the statement at hand? Are you in or are you out on this one?
I'm in on those bad boys. I'm in. I'm loving it. I'm all in on them. It's been years and years since we can actually sit back and cheer for this team, and they're actually contenders, But I'm proud of the baby birds. We have a good, deep farm system. The next couple of years it's gonna be something to deal with. Like, we're America's team now. We're proving it. We're proving it. The only thing is, I'm eager to see what they're gonna do at the trade deadline. It's almost up, but they need to make a move. They need to make a move for some pitching for sure. I would love to see Ohtani come here and we can kind of handle, take care of two birds with one stone. Have the best pitcher in the league, then you have the best hitter in the league all at one time. But we would have to give up a lot for him.
Yeah, that's good. That would be one great addition to that lineup too if they pulled that off. And with some things that you said within your breakdown, and with some things that I had preliminary thoughts going into this, I'm gonna have to agree with you. I'm in on this as well. I wish I had the Deion Sanders clip where he's like, "I'm coming," because this team has been coming. Because they are literally looking at people in the face and saying,
"You should know your role and shut your mouth."
And anyone that's a hater on this team should definitely listen to this.
Would you please shut the hell up?
Because this team has definitely been making moves for the past few seasons to build a preliminary great team going into this season and beyond. And the results are showing. Now, they do have another team that's in the same division that has the best record in baseball, and that being the Tampa Bay Rays. Tampa Bay Rays have had one hell of a season out here on this field when it comes to Major League Baseball. And then you've got the Baltimore Orioles, not the Baltimore Orioles, but you've got the Atlanta Braves and the NL that are doing some great things too. Yeah. So I got a feeling that out of this division right here in the AL East, you got you got the Baltimore Orioles, you've got the Rays. It's one of those two teams that are going to represent that league in the World Series. It's going to come down on one of those two teams. And I feel like, even though I'm not saying this is a homer pick, I am a fan of the Atlanta Braves. I feel like they're going to get back to the World Series this year because of some things they have been doing within these games throughout the course of this MLB season. So I want to see it to be the Baltimore Orioles and the Atlanta Braves, because my second team growing up as a kid was the Baltimore Orioles, because we had Cal Ripken Jr., and with what he was doing, because he played up until I was about 14 years old. So growing up with Cal Ripken Jr. and my baseball, I love that guy. He was great. And he was Iron Man. He was my B team right there, but it was always the Atlanta Braves. And it could have been because of all those rights that they had on the TBS Superstation. We were just watching all those games every single day. But growing up in the 90s, they had a great team as well. So can't turn your back on them. And they got a World Series not too long ago, so they're definitely looking pretty good. But it's time for the Baltimore Orioles to get back.
It's definitely time.
Been 40 years.
Yes, sir.
Since you won a World Series as a Baltimore. This is before we were even born, bro. It's time to get one in your lifetime. I've had two. It's time for you to get one.
I can't wait. I'm just loving that style of play right now. They're going back to more of like a traditional, old school style of play. Hit and run,
All
run.
Ball. Yeah,
there it is. Small ball, playing more strategic, as opposed to the last couple of years. It's been more long ball. Nobody wants to see that anymore. Let's play ball. We got a handful of guys. Pretty much our whole starting lineup can run. So we get on the base pass, we cause trouble, and we're here where we are. One game behind. One game. We're coming for the Rays, and remember too, we swept away the Rays earlier this year. So.
And the Orioles are 8-2 in the last 10 games.
Yeah.
They're doing great within the last 10 games. And the Rays have been slumping compared to that. The Rays are 3-7 in the last 10 games.
Yeah.
That's how you've been able to climb up a little bit because of that, because they've been making these mistakes on the field. And, it's not really more so when you look into it, they're not really getting more so hit by the injury bug. It's just that time of the year where you just had the All-Star break. The All-Star break was just recently. So some guys are going to be a little bit rusty that aren't used to taking some time off or whatnot, who may have been in the All-Star game but weren't because they didn't make it or whatnot. So that rust is going to be there because they didn't get the reps during that time. Right. So it's going to be interesting to see how this second half of the season pans out. But when you set yourself up great during the first half of the season, and then with what you've done within the past 10 games, even the past few games since you came back from the All-Star break, it's looking like it's going to be a nice, well-oiled machine going into September. And I look forward to seeing what you guys can pull off.
Absolutely. We're going to do it. We're going to make it. We're going to make some history.
Got a few comments, it looks like, throughout this one. Do you remember when Triple H, Randy Orton, and Batista reformed Evolution to battle the Shield back in 2014? I think this is what he was referring to when it came to that stuff, and we were both not picking up what he was throwing down. Yeah, we remember that. That was like Evolution 2.0. Yeah. So yeah, that was definitely good. And David 3000's in the house. Shout out to David 3000, who just recently got to over 1,000 subscribers on YouTube after putting in all the hard work there. Congrats there, my man. He's saying nice color on that. I appreciate that. Watching from Cedar Hill, Texas, says David Burns. Well, thank you, David Burns, for tuning in. Definitely appreciate you watching this episode here. Batista demanded a rematch with Daniel Bryan, but Triple H rebucked. So Batista said, "I quit," and sarcastically waved at the crowd like a beauty queen. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I do remember that now.
Yeah, so him with his nose ring, and Batista didn't look right with the nose ring. It takes a certain look for a dude to pull off a nose ring and just Batista just didn't do it, man. He just looked weird with that thing on. I mean, it might have been he was just too old. I think he's just too old to try it out for the first time, man. When I was a kid, my team was the San Francisco Giants because of Barry Bonds.
I mean, I'm not mad at you.
Now, sick, was this pre-juice Barry Bonds? Because Barry Bonds started juicing was around 97, 98 when Mark McGwire, when Sammy Sosa were starting to hit the home runs. He got jealous because I think it was 98 was his story, he said, because, he hit 40 home runs. He went 40 for 40 or whatnot. I think 40 home runs, 40 doubles, or 40 steals or something like that within the same season. And he got jealous because the more praise is going for the home run chase, and what Barry Bonds did was actually harder and deservingly so. But I don't think it's a good reason to do steroids. But
not at all.
But tell us, sick, was that your reason? Was it pre-juice or post-juice? Batista had a stud before he was switched into the ring on his nose.
I didn't look at Batista like that. I never was really a fan of him. So I mean, look at his face like that.
Yeah. I remember him having it when he was older. I don't remember him having one when he first started out. Like I remember him when he first started out as Deacon Batista.
I was about to say Deacon.
Yeah, yep. Deacon Batista. Yeah, with Reverend Devon. I remember that. So, that I don't remember him having one then, but I just remember being like 48 years old going against Triple H and having a nose ring. It wasn't cool, bro. You were like 20 years too late on pulling that one off. This was before the steroids in 93. Okay, cool. So it was like around the time that he left the Pittsburgh Pirates and came on over to the San Francisco Giants. You were becoming a fan since 93. So yeah, that was right when he came from the Pittsburgh Pirates, and that was like his first year, I believe. It was 92 or 93. I think it was 93 as his first year with the Giants, because 92, I believe he was with the Pirates, because 92, I believe, was the last year the Pirates made it to like the playoffs, let alone they were in the National League Championship Series, and Barry Bonds was a part of that team. So 93 was his first year. So yeah, that's sick. Definitely. See, I know baseball a little bit. I know a little baseball.
I hear you. Keep talking.
Yeah, Batista had a nose stud back in 2010, 2011. Hey, man, you could be but sick, you're crushing it as the historian for Batista's nose tonight. You're absolutely crushed it out here in these streets. I appreciate you. Guys, keep this information coming. You're helping us out. Keep the comments going throughout this show. We've gone through 2 great rounds so far. Yes, and before we go any further, we'll go ahead and take a commercial break. And when we come back, we'll see you here in about 115 seconds.
SIRTOBA Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
And now a word from a non-accredited sponsor.
This episode of the In or Out Sports Debate is brought to you by Peanut Butter and Jealous. When you're feeling a little blue based on what others are doing around you, spread a little peanut butter and jealous on your sandwich to make yourself feel whole again.
Yeah. But hey, that was last year. And what did he was out.
Right. And now he's in.
But he's been out for an entire year. It's not, you can't think he's going to make the same impact that he did before he was suspended.
I'm telling you, he won't have to.
What? See how he going to keep his phone down and not make bets?
What?
Come on, man. Welcome back to a show where we have just as many commercials as a TNT broadcast. The Sports Senseis Unleashed.
I hate you, Joe.
SIRTOBA Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the In-Or-Out Sports Debate, episode 96 with myself, Drew Willingham, and brother Hugh Scott of the Wrestling Realm. We are back after 2 great rounds of this show, and we've got some more in the fire for you to go into this next one as we bring it back into wrestling. Let's see what we got in store for that. Before that, we got some breaking news. And just like last night when we announced on episode 95 that Brother Hugh would be here tonight for episode 96, next Tuesday, Joey Raymond is back for episode 97, as we have next Tuesday at 8:05 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll definitely talk a little bit more baseball and football action on that episode. But tonight, I'm excited because I haven't had an episode with a lot of jam-packed pro wrestling talk in a minute. And my man right here is going to help me get through that. We still got 2 more great topics to discuss within that. Let's go ahead and see what we got in store for round 3.
Round 3.
And here for round 3, it's time for Jim Ross to retire from AEW and professional wrestling altogether. How do you feel about this one, Brother Hugh? Do you agree with the statement at hand? Are you in or are you out on this one?
I hate to say it, but I'm in. And it's just too many health problems for me. Like, I'm a big advocate of just self-help and self-care. Like, I just think he just needs to take more time and just focus on just getting healthy and just living life. I'm not sure of exactly like how much pressure he's under right now at AEW or whatnot, and what he has his hands in at AEW. But I feel like it's just too much for him right now.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with you on that as well, because when you put everything in perspective and you think about what Jim Ross has done and meant to the world of professional wrestling, he's been here for quite some time, and that's why I have to agree with you. I'm in. It's been several decades this man has been a part of professional wrestling, moved up the ranks, worked within the offices of the highest of all highest within professional wrestling and being WWE with what we were talking about earlier, and has made a huge impact to professional wrestling, both in front of the camera and behind it and with talent, and is in a very positive way. There have been some stories, I guess, but anybody, when it comes to working with somebody, of course, not everything's gonna be sunshine and rainbows. Somebody's gonna have at least one negative story at some point. It might be small potatoes or something this big. And of course, we've heard some here, but I've heard more positive influences that JR has meant to the world of professional wrestling and what he's done to contribute to all the promotions he's been with, between WCW and WWE and then now AEW. So, and in everything else in the Mid-South and everything before he even came into, the bigger things within WCW. But now over the past few years, he's been a victim of Bell's palsy, over the course of the past couple of decades, which just has effects on him. And, now with the current issues at bay, it's taking him more time. It seems like he'll come do an event and then he's spending more time away in between events than he is as far as consistently producing with how he was starting with at the beginning. Because when he was starting at the beginning, he was doing several shows and was doing, Dynamite every week. I remember going to the first ever Dynamite in DC when they had the first ever episode there then. He was there for that. And I was thinking to myself, even there, I was like, JR hadn't really been that active in a while. Of course, he's done his Grilling with JR podcast and he stuff does here, but you can do that from home, just like you and I are doing right now.
Absolutely.
So it doesn't really take but so much out of you, depending on how much you put into it. But from what it seems like, he's got production people that do everything for him. He just shows up and talks, so it can't be so hard on his end there to do that. there's a big difference when you're traveling from city to city and dealing with pre and post, event stuff as well. The stresses of traveling, everything that comes about all that. Right. And now with him at the age that he is, pushing 80, being
he's like 71, 72, something like that.
Yeah, he's up there, man. Like, as far as Jim Ross being up there in his 70s, he's 71 years old. So when you think about the amount of time that he's spent within that adulthood, Jim Ross has been going since his 20s, like within this world. We just broadcasting and stuff too. Even had a hand in NFL broadcasting for a little bit. I think he did the Buffalo Bills for a season. It might be a different team, or no, it's the Atlanta Falcons is what he did for a season. It was like in the early 90s. And I think it was when primetime was there, it was like 91 or 92. Right. Only did it for like a season. But yeah, Jim Ross has done a lot. And that's just, that's speaking about his professional wrestling. I just brought up one example of him doing stuff outside of wrestling with the football for one season. That's just one example. This man's been very active. It's time to enjoy retirement, my man. You're in your 70s. You shouldn't be broke. And it looks like, for the most part, you've done very well with how you've handled your money, because you got other business ventures outside of this stuff too, with your barbecue sauce, your grilling stuff, everything. So, hey, why are you working and putting yourself through the stress like this so much is my question. I think it's time to retire. I agree with Brother Hugh. Go ahead and enjoy retirement and, live off the fruits of your labor. You only get but so much time out here in these streets. And, with what it looks like, I'm not trying to be throwing shade on you or anything at all, but it looks like you might not have much time left if you're consistently having more health issues than the time you're spending at events.
Yeah, I would slow it down for sure. I think it's just hard to step away from the game. That's the one thing that everybody says, as far as like athletes, or especially in wrestling. Like, it's just hard to step away from that. You see it all the time with your older wrestlers, your Undertakers and people like that. It's just tough. But hopefully, he gets better. Things get better for him, and he can enjoy himself.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we got some comments from the fans here as well. And David 3000, not sure if you didn't hear me, but my team is the Atlanta Braves. So you might have posted this right before I said that, because that was about 10 minutes ago. And then Sick Diggy says, when Bautista started out as a deacon in 2002, he had earrings, a tongue ring, a navel ring, and that went from the sun tattoo around his navel. I don't remember that much in depth of it or whatnot. I just remember the biggest thing I remember from Deacon Bautista coming out with that sleeveless vest on or whatever, and having that chain around it like that. It was like the John Cena lock or whatever that he had around his neck, like pre-John Cena lock, coming out there dressed
with
like
the offering box.
Yeah. The furthest thing you would think would be from a deacon, like,
right.
Come on, bro. But yeah, that Sick. You got the, maybe you're Googling some pictures of him right now to descript him as well as you are, but we don't remember him that well that far back in the game. But hey, do what?
You got his favorite wrestler?
Yeah. I've been researching tattoos and piercings since I was a teenager. Okay. All right. Okay. I mean, that's a cool hobby to have. I mean, we're not hating on you or whatnot. We just, individually don't remember him like that with all the piercing stuff, especially the tongue ring. I wasn't paying attention to his mouth moving on TV. Come on. I love the MK voice for the announcing of the rounds. Thank you. That was something I thought about before when I first put the show together. I was like, I want to have it in rounds and sequences to like break it up with transitions. And I was playing Mortal Kombat one day. And I just happened to think about it. And I was like, this would be fucking dope if I did this shit. And then, hey, it worked out. So here we are. So there we got the rounds. That's the story of how it became about there, Sick Nick. Time for JR to go well past his time. His brain isn't even functioning the same anymore. I mean, that's true facts.
Yeah. There's a couple of slip-ups, on live TV.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah. And from someone, and with the Corey statement, and from someone who's experienced that, because when I had the stroke, I was alive. It's like me and you right now. Like, I'm talking, except for on that show, I was getting very animated. For one. Two, I'd gone through a bunch of stress and stuff, and my body wasn't in the greatest shape because I wasn't putting the right amount of water and fluids and eating the right kind of things. Now dropping 44 pounds over the past 90 days. I've definitely put in the work, and the results are showing, and I'm feeling it better. But hey, when it comes to that, there's a difference between falling out on live when you're in your 30s, and that's a result, rather than you being in your 70s. And the healing process is much different when you're twice the age as what we are now. So it also depends on the severity too and what kind of shape you're in going into it. There's several factors, genetics and everything going into it, but you don't really have that same argument for somebody that's in their 70s. So you make a great point, Corey. That's why I just wanted to throw a little bit of light on that one. Jim Ross should fall back into a backstage position, but there's too many hard-headed kids in AEW. Many are too sensitive to criticism on the roster, and you're absolutely right about that. I mean, look at CM Punk's example, for that. So, it's been a while since we talked, wrestling and stuff. How do you feel about this whole AEW collision on Saturdays and CM Punk having to be on a separate show, on a separate island, just to be able to participate within the company and live out his contract?
That's a wild concept, but hey, it's working out for him so far.
For now, but it's like, are you going to have a second world championship like WWE? You're not big enough for that.
I think eventually they might have to do that. But like I said, it's working for now. So I mean, I like to take it a day at a time and just see what they do with it. Hopefully they can get some more people in there, to creative wise, and then just get some more superstars all together and kind of just put them together and make it work. Continue to develop all of these lower end superstars that you have that don't get TV time as is, and just continue to evolve.
The sad thing is their developmental system isn't quite like WWE. And when you look at Brian Pillman Jr., for example, with him just recently being let go from AEW and being spotted in the WWE Performance Center, which is cool, which if he goes there and gets the right training, and actually they make something of him, because the kid's got some talents that we did see in AEW. They just didn't utilize them right.
Absolutely.
So the Varsity Blondes thought was a good idea when it started, because it does pay homage to what his dad did back in the day, but it's a much different situation with that team as opposed to what his dad did. And they had something special there. And the sad thing is we've seen AEW now for 4 years, consistently. They had 4 years to get that right with him, and they didn't get that right with their training. But a lot changed within their performance training when Cody Rhodes left and went back to WWE, I feel like. And that's just my personal opinion. It might not be the exact way, because you got old Dustin Rhodes, old Goldie over there, with his wrestling camp or whatnot that he's got. But I just don't feel like it's the same. Probably doesn't have the same energy that Cody has. You can see how passionate Cody is when he's with his students, because there's been some examples out there on YouTube and the internet and stuff. You can see that, but not trying to throw shade at Goldust, but there's two different age groups there, and Cody's in his prime. We're going to see him as a world champion at some point. But, I mean, you bring up a great point there, Sick, when it comes to, the backstage politics of AEW. Plus, JR is a skin cancer survivor. I forgot about that. That's another good point to bring up.
Yeah, that recent fall. His nerves are bad in his legs from what I hear. So it's a lot of things. But
yeah, this is just adding up. It's time to hang them up there, JR. And we wouldn't put anything past you for doing it. You've already had a great career. And Corey Mann says, the literal goat of calling wrestling, but his date of expiration wrestling wise has been passed. Have a chair, have a seat, Jim. Thank you for all that you've done, but it's time to go. And by the way, take Vince with you. My man, you absolutely called it, because you get this. And if anybody feels differently about that, I only got one thing for you.
Stay off the weed.
Because he needs a break. It's time there, JR. Let's see what else we got over here in the comments or whatnot. And we say, JR is also a widower and a grandfather. Yes. He definitely is. A man has survived a lot at 71. Right. So at this point, it's time to enjoy the fruits of your labor. But maybe with that point that he brings up, he wants to keep going, to keep building the legacy for more money to leave for his family. But because he's a widower, there's nobody at home. He doesn't want to be there by himself.
That's true.
That could be a good point there. You got Sick. I didn't even think about that. No, he did XFL commentary with Jerry the King Lawler back in 2001, so he did have a second year of commentary. He did also do stuff for the Atlanta Falcons back in 92. I believe it was like 92 or 94. Look it up, Sick, because he did do 1 year of like NFL radio or something.
I do remember that, yeah.
Because it was on a documentary. That's the only reason why I know it, because I remember seeing it before. All right, Sick Diggy, that's a bit much on Batista, man, says Corey. Yeah, Sick, you did have the description down pat for him a little bit. He said his favorite wrestler was The Undertaker. Well, my bad. I would have thought otherwise.
Right.
I mean, if you get a shrine in your closet of Batista with a big ass poster, a lock of his hair, even his nose ring from Mania that Triple H pulled out, Sick praise to it daily. Now that is funny there, Corey. I don't know if Sick goes that sick with it. I don't think he does, but I would at least say this: it should be confirmed that he is a fan of Batista.
He is.
His description of what he's given us. We'll at least give him that much. The late draws, Prince Albert, A-Train, and Tess piqued my interest in piercing. Okay, I mean, there's some good examples with that. I mean, because the rest of them, especially A-Train, got ridiculous with it at one point or whatnot.
He did.
With what he had. And then when he was like Lord Tensai or whatnot, he came out there with all that paint on. That was wild. I'm trying to pull it off his tattoos. Like, get real, bro.
Then he was Sweet Tea after that.
Yeah. And then he was like a WWE Performance Center trainer, and we think he was one of the ones who was a little bit too hard on the students in the Performance Center and got called out. Or no, that was Hugh Morris.
No, it was Hugh Morris. Yeah.
Hugh Morris. Bill DeMott is what his name is. He'll always be remembered as Hugh Morris and getting destroyed by Goldberg back in
WWE. Sir. In his debut match. Yep.
Yeah. Let's not forget about Tony Khan is running everything and not managing anything properly. He's in way over his head. I think Tony Khan has a brighter future and can actually be more susceptible to change for the positive and help turn this company around more and build it into higher levels in a better way than what Vinnie Mac has and as far as his future with WWE. Okay. There's more future with Tony Khan and being able to build AEW better than there is with Vince McMahon and bringing WWE to a higher height of what it already is. Because there were certain elements of it that were decaying until Triple H and Shawn Michaels were getting heavily involved with creative outside of NXT and now on the main roster. And you see what the results have been, especially with this Bloodline story, which we'll get to here in a little bit. I've been looking forward to that one, which is why they've got the huge amount of our background here for this show. AEW Collision and Dynamite cannot mirror SmackDown and Raw back in 2002. No, you're right. I mean, they don't have the talent for it.
They don't.
To mirror what they were doing in 2002. So the Professor Mike Tenay was right when he walked away and retired from commentary. I mean, yeah, but also Mike Tenay wasn't even on the level of JR, though, Sick. Mike Tenay doesn't suck, okay? He was talented.
He was.
But there's a reason why Mike Tenay didn't work in WWE, and Jim Ross was like the face of broadcasting for WWE for several years, along with Michael Cole, okay? It's kind of like how when you think about it this way, when they struck gold, when they had Stone Cold and The Rock as primetime main eventers at the same time, they struck gold when they had JR, Jerry Lawler, and Michael Cole all at the same time. And Michael Cole learned from those guys. So when you think about the amount of talent that's been within broadcasting, not even the talent that's on the roster performing as far as professional wrestlers, they've struck gold on several occasions within their talent overall in WWE history. Corey, man, you're funny. I have an OCD and a Virgo. I pay attention to details. See, this is funny because Nick's on YouTube and Corey's on Facebook. So together, our show's bringing their conversation together. This is awesome. And this is happening right now on the show. So thank you guys for tuning in through multiple platforms. Drew Willingham, the question is Tony Khan willing to adapt to change? I mean, that is a great question. Right. I mean, what do you think there, Brother Hugh? Do you think that he will be adaptable to change going forward?
I think eventually he is. Once he get out of his mind that he doesn't need to really compete with WWE, just to be his own brand. Once he continues to move forward with that, then he'll be okay. He just got to get out of fanboy stage.
Absolutely. And I definitely agree with that one as well. And he says, good call at Fifth Down Sports. We're saying about Tony Khan. Oh, I missed that one. Tony Khan will ruin AEW with woke garbage in the production. I didn't see that part, but hey, Sick was like calling him out saying that was a good call. Well, when it comes to woke garbage, there has been certain things, but there have been certain things that they put out there that simply people feel this way.
time for that.
And I say that.
Gosh.
I say that because more eyes are on WWE when you compare all elements of wrestling, even to this day, even if their numbers slip and go up and down like a roller coaster at times. There's still more eyes on WWE's product currently. And there's an AEW, on Impact, on anything else that's out there when it comes to indie stuff that's related close to that. But I have to say, and I have to give a shout out to MLW. Like MLW has been producing some great stuff over recent time. And it's been cool to be able to see part of the back parts of the family tree where it comes to the bloodline is still alive and is still a part of MLW there too. Like I gotta give a shout to you guys, the wrestling realm, and Brian H as well for hooking me up with Lance and Hawaii and having an episode with him on when my show K-Wave Express. I plan on bringing it back soon, but he was on episode 3. Man, was just going into MLW when he first was on that show with me. He had just signed with them or whatever, like the 2-year deal or whatever, and was just starting to break into it, and it was also getting he's also going against up for the tag team championship at that time too. Now the man's in Japan, like doing the stuff that he's doing over there. So it's awesome to see that, and and I know you guys have the similar stories too, where it's just cool to have the interaction with someone that's doing awesome things like that and moving up the ladder, because he even said it on the show. He was like, I was at one point almost about to call it quits because he had a decent job outside of it. I'm not going to announce what it is, but he had a decent job outside of it, was doing okay to provide for the family. He didn't need to do it, but wrestling's in the blood. It's part of the bloodline that's been going for 3 years. So when you think about those backstory parts of it that are a part of that overall story that not everybody knows out here, it's cool to be able to know certain things about that, and they shared that with you on your programs. Like you guys get the same thing, and I got to experience. So maybe it's just like the early on, like I'm having a good time with it like that or whatnot. Some people might be numb to it, but I just like hearing people's stories and seeing how they advance out here with everything that we got going on around us. So Tony Khan will ruin AEW. I don't think so, Deets. I don't think he's going to quite ruin AEW.
Remember, he has money.
He does. He's got several different venues to bring in. Kevin Kelly.
He makes that clear.
Yes, yes. Kevin Kelly was also there at that time, he says. Yep, definitely back in the Attitude Era. He was part of that announcing team, but Kevin Kelly is not even on the level. Back to this. Kevin Kelly was not on the level of JR, Jerry Lawler, and even Michael Cole back then. Michael Cole wasn't even at the level he's at now, but he learned from two of the greatest that were in there as far as professional wrestling announcers, and that's how he got to where he's at now.
The Rock made Kevin Kelly.
Yes! Yes, with those promos. And you remember back too, because when you first came on this show, I was still playing those promos.
Yep.
Well, you talk about WWE not liking stuff. They didn't like that one because I had like the HD version. I think I might have downloaded it from WWE. That's probably why I didn't like it. But anyway, like I was playing those, and one of those famous ones that he really made Kevin Kelly look like what out there was I was playing. And there was more. It wasn't just that one time. He made a fool out of Kevin Kelly on several occasions during the Attitude Era. It was great.
Right.
By the way, Zola Fatu debuted recently, correct?
I saw that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Will Lance and Hawaii join forces with GOD in New Japan?
I'm not sure.
That's a good question.
That is a good question. I never even thought of that. But hey.
Yeah, so sick. You might have been watching some of his reels and the stuff he's been posting on Instagram or something, because Lance's been posting a lot of stuff on Instagram and in the stories or whatnot, even on Facebook too, with what he's been doing lately. And they've been getting some great footage. Like it has some great footage they've got with whatever promotion who is ever doing the production part of that. I gotta say, I gotta give a shout to. I'm a production buff, so when it comes to seeing that stuff, I think that's cool, and it's definitely you can see where he's climbing that ladder over there. That's his inheritance from his father, Shahid. Shad Khan. Yeah, Shad Khan. He's that. Hey, it doesn't matter how he got the money. It just matters that he has the money to begin with.
Absolutely.
And lastly, who remembers when The Rock would refer to Kevin Kelly as ugly hermaphrodite? Absolutely.
The Rock was ruthless, man. Good Lord.
He would follow it up with this.
You should know your role and shut your mouth.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I had to acknowledge him on that.
Acknowledge me.
Had to. Greatest wrestling family in the history of big time professional wrestling and professional wrestling altogether. It is proven. It's just like Thomas said, with Patrick Brady II being the best quarterback of the NFL. You can't debate it.
Okay.
So, but guys, thank you for the comments here. That was a really involved round 3. Thank you guys for being in there with the comments and stuff. We got another round we're going to go to now, and that is the By the Numbers segment for episode 96. Let's see what we got in store for round 4.
Round 4.
And here for round 4, this one we got Sean Jones is the greatest athlete to ever wear the number 96 in all of sports history. Brother Hugh, how do you feel about this one? Do you agree with the statement at hand? Are you in or are you out on this one?
Oh, I'm out on this one.
Got it.
I got to go with one of my favorite players of all time at the DT position. Back in the 90s, early 90s, I'm going with Cortez Kennedy from Seahawks. 8 Pro Bowls, Hall of Famer, 3-time All-Pro, first team, 2-time second team, Hall of Fame 90s team. Like, that's more than what Sean Jones has. Sean Jones was like a 1-time Pro Bowler, 1-time something. I'm not knocking his career. I do like that he was from Kingston, Jamaica. Shout out to Jamaica. I'm part Jamaican. But, yeah, man, he had nothing on Cortez Kennedy.
Yeah, Cortez Kennedy definitely had a great career, within the league. And, there's definitely a lot of things that you could say that would back you up when it comes to Sean Jones and the greatest to wear 96 as well. But I got to agree with you. I'm out on this as well. Another 96 that also wore was in the NHL, and that was Pavel Bure. And he played, a good long career within the NHL. And when it came to thinking about the best to wear 96, I actually had him as number 2. Sean Jones, I had him up there as probably number 3, but I like to kind of do a little bit of wordplay within these topics when it comes to round 4, because it makes us really have to think when it comes to the best to ever wear the number at the position. And Sean Jones had a great career throughout the 90s, playing for the Green Bay Packers and playing for the Houston Oilers as well. And he definitely, has some trophies on that shelf. You know what I'm saying? Has definitely put in his time within the league. But when it comes to what Cortez Kennedy did, and you named it right there, 3-time first team All-Pro, 2-time second team, 8-time Pro Bowl, part of the NFL 1990s All-Decade team. And when you get an NFL Defensive Player of the Year award, and that was 92 in that era, you're no slouch, okay? Because think of the talent that you had in that time frame in the early 90s. And LT still playing very high level at that point, and several other ones that were on the come up, like Bill Romanowski and others that were definitely a big force on the defensive side of football. Cortez Kennedy playing in that era to get a Defensive Player of the Year in 1992. It shows how badass the man was. He was definitely ready to rumble each and every game, and played for a Seattle Seahawks team that was not the greatest to play for.
No, they weren't.
And Brother Hugh, like, you can test that. They weren't. They didn't really start becoming great until the 2000s. And it wasn't until Holmgren left Green Bay and went from there to work in the office of Seattle, and then eventually become the head coach not too long after that, and coaching this team and developing that roster. Matt Hasselbeck, who we didn't hear about before, but it was a backup in Green Bay. You think about everything that he did to build that Seattle Seahawks team, but Cortez Kennedy, unfortunately, that didn't happen until after he retired in 2000. So he put in his time within the league and did great things, and that's why I have to agree with you that I feel like Cortez Kennedy is the greatest to wear 96.
Yeah, man. He was great, man. Like you said, with that talent he had to deal with, LT, just LT all top. Oh, my gosh, man. And for a big boy, DT, a defensive tackle, getting Defensive Player of the Year, his second year in the league, he was a monster. He was a monster.
Being young, like 24, 25 years old, and not everybody is mature enough at that age. Especially, I would say, in certain ways, some people are a little bit more mature when it comes to ball players now, because of certain things they have as far as mentors. There's more mentors in the locker room area. There's better training, mentally, physically, and just all around health training now. So that all plays a part into it. back then you didn't have all the resources that you have 30 years later.
Right.
So to come up in that time and especially play for the team that you played for, then it wasn't the greatest or whatnot. You didn't have the Joey Galloway days and the Warren Moons towards the end of the 90s that you had before things started getting prominent. It still wasn't all that great. So to have some type of spark on that team, and that being him in 92 at that young of age, very, very special.
Very special, yep.
So let's see what we got here in the comments. We got a few comments while we're talking about Grace to wear 96. Look at that lovely Oilers uniform, he says. This is Fifth Down Sports and Sick Diggy, not Sick Diggy, but Mr. Chris Dietz. Thank you for the shout out there on that uniform, because that definitely is a pretty dope uniform. I'll throw that up here one more time for those of you who
It is. Yeah, I miss those uniforms. Yeah.
They do the throwbacks sometimes, but it's just not the same when you have the Tennessee Titans rocking them, man. Like,
right.
It's just not the same feel. So gotta get that mess out of here. But we got some more comments. Looks like Sick Diggy says, in a sense, he understood the importance of family and mental health. Yeah. I mean, that's definitely a great call out on that with what we were talking about with that.
Right. And
the late Cortez Kennedy had a greater impact off the field. He knew the importance of having good relationships with teammates, which is definitely true. So it's definitely a good call out with that one, because if you don't have a good relationship with your peers, you're not gonna be able to make it out here in these streets. You gotta be able to work together and share each other's talents. Everybody's got different talents than the others in some cases, and if you put them together collectively, you can create badass episodes like Brother Hugh and I are doing tonight. So
yes, sir.
Guys, we've been through 4 great rounds so far on the show. Keep those comments coming. But before we go into the final round, we do have one more commercial break to take. Looks like we got one more comment we want to acknowledge while we're still on the topic. The Titans are going to rock those uniforms this year. The best part is it's against Houston, so it's blasphemous. Yeah, it kind of is blasphemous to do that against the Houston Texans. Depends on what shape the Houston Texans are going to show up in too. So with all their woes they've had over the years, the massage parlors, all sorts of wild stuff they've had going on over there in Houston, man. So they gotta watch all that stuff. But now that man's out of that area, so you don't have to worry about that anymore.
Didn't the Titans just pick up Hopkins?
Yeah. So we talked about that earlier on Sports Sensations Unleashed. How do you feel about that? Do you think that was a kind of a gamble for the Titans to pick him up? At this point, mini camp's over, bro. The training camp's about to start in like a week, 2 weeks. So he didn't have that mini camp time to go through walkthroughs and see the playbook. He's behind the curve now. So unless he's familiar with the play calling system and the type of offense they're running, I think it's a gamble going into the season. What do you think?
It is a slight gamble, but he's a professional. I mean, I think I have all my faith in him, man. I wanted to see him in purple and black, but that didn't work out.
Being a little biased with that. I, of course, would love to see him in maroon and gold, in DC area, DMV area, of course. I've been a fan of the team since they were referred to as the slur, okay? So
I started to wear that hat too, but nah.
Hey, man, nothing wrong with it. It's grandfathered in. That's the way I look at it. I've had this conversation with many people. Like, I'll be nice and call him the slur now, even though I do have part Native American in me. I can say whatever I want.
Right, you can.
I could say it. I got the half sleeve tattoo that we've already addressed back.
Embrace it. That's right.
So I do. I'll wear my sleeves about there, and I'll just tell them, hey, look, I'm part Native American. I've been a fan since they were the slur. I'll be nice and call them the slur for you so you feel okay. But hey, we're still going to acknowledge the past and history. You got to acknowledge to be able to move on. So we got to. Can't be ignorant, man. We got to tell them out here, brother. We got to tell them so that way they know what's going on. They got to know what's up. So other than that, we got imagine how Cole Sports is going to react to when he sees that blasphemy at Fifth Down Sports. He definitely probably will react to that in some kind of way. Let us know how you guys feel in the next round when we get to that one here shortly. We're going to go ahead and take a commercial break. And when we get back, we're going to talk about a little bit of more professional wrestling action and go back inside the WWE. We'll see you here in about 115 seconds.
SIRTOBA Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
And now a word from a non-accredited sponsor.
This episode of the In or Out Sports Debate is brought to you by Peanut Butter and Jealous. When you're feeling a little blue based on what others are doing around you, spread a little peanut butter and jealous on your sandwich to make yourself feel whole again.
Yeah. But hey, that was last year. And what did he was out.
Right. And now he's in.
But he's been out for an entire year. It's not, you can't think he's going to make the same impact that he did before he was suspended.
I'm telling you, he won't have to.
What?
See how
Is he going to keep his phone down and not make bets?
Come
on, man. Welcome back to a show where we have just as many commercials as a TNT broadcast, the Sports Sensays Unleashed.
I hate you, Joe.
SIRTOBA Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back for episode 96, the In or Out Sports Debate. Brother Hugh and I are back for one final round that we got in store for you. Let's go ahead and take this into that round and talk a little bit of WWE action for the last time of this episode.
Final round.
Right here in the final round, WWE should bring back Rikishi into the bloodline story to help administer solace within the faction. Brother Hugh, how do you feel about this one with the statement at hand when it comes to the bloodline? Are you in or are you out on this one?
I think I'm in on this one. I want to start off by saying the bloodline situation is crazy, and I'm honestly tired of trying to figure out what's going to happen next. But I would like to see Rikishi in there to bring some order to the whole situation, being that he possibly could be one of the elders that sent Solo in the first place. We still haven't really touched base on why Solo was sent, or what's his real purpose. But I just think it adds a little bit more intrigue to the whole situation, because right now we're going back full circle with Jay and Roman again. Like it's a different story being told, but do we really want to see that again and again? And what's going to happen afterwards, after this at SummerSlam? So I think it just adds a new element if you bring in Rikishi. You get so many different opportunities to tell a different story right after that. So I mean, yeah, I'm in with it.
You bring some great points to that, and I've tossed this back and forth through before this show and even during this show. And the biggest thing that comes to my mind is this is a debate show, and I gotta debate you, and I gotta disagree with you at some point. And this time is now, and I'm gonna say I'm out. Oh yeah, y'all should have known that at some point this was gonna happen.
Let me talk to you.
That time is now, because when it comes to this situation right here in the bloodline, this has been one great story. Of course, if Vincent Kennedy McMahon was fully writing the story, Rikishi probably would have been back a year ago, and he probably would have ruined the story, and the story would be over, and there would be no story right now if Vincent Kennedy McMahon had his entire fingerprints all over this story. Now, when you look at it as a whole, and you look at it, and you think about Rikishi, yes, he has produced some great talent within that family bloodline, and they have done some great things within this story. They've done it without him is the greatest part of it. They haven't needed him or to bounce off of his fame in order to help propel this story. I feel like if you bring Rikishi into this, you're taking away from that organic feel that has come from this story in this millennial era, okay, in this new era of wrestling. They did all this on their own. They didn't need the elders. Of course, the one point when you did have the scene of the elders and passing the torch to Roman when he first was becoming the tribal chief or whatnot, right, you needed that for that element of the story. Right. But if you have Rikishi come in to restructure the bloodline, then you're stepping on the toes of the current tribal chief. So if you have Rikishi come in, and in this whole thing, it could hurt the storyline in a way if you think about it to that way, because again, they've created this organically while using some things from the past to stay connected within that bloodline, but they haven't needed the past lineage. They haven't had to rely on that to get to where they're at today. They're on a completely different level than everybody else that was in that lineage previously. If you take The Rock out of the equation, The Rock's the only one that the bloodline hasn't surpassed yet. Now, as far as WWE storyline consistently on television, I feel like they've surpassed him with that part of it, because The Rock didn't have like a consistent 3-year storyline that was the same storyline going on for 3 years. Within WWE creative, they've surpassed him. As a talent professionally in the world, financially and everything too, with what he's done in Hollywood, they're nowhere even close to him. They're nowhere even close to him. But they could be getting some advice from him. If you think about it too, and they're getting advice from probably the elders and everything too on different levels, storyline wise and outside of it as well, to help get them to this point. But they don't have to step in to make it happen. That's why the whole rumblings in the dark of Roman facing The Rock, yeah, it would be cool, but it doesn't actually have to happen, at least at this point, because they're building the storyline organically and great on their own. Which is why I feel like it would take away from it if they bring in Rikishi, because it might soil over the actual whole storyline of the Tribal Chief, even though the Usos have been doing that on their own over the past few weeks.
Right. So my question is, after SummerSlam, after we get this match, what's next? What's your prediction?
Some people have been saying that Solo could turn on Roman at SummerSlam. I think that, Jay might win, but it might be through DQ or something, to where Roman still keeps the belt, to where he still gets the clout from the win or whatever, or some type of reversal will happen. But Solo could turn on Roman, could happen too. But, just like we were talking about earlier in the show, they've got so many members of the family that are out there in the independent scene. Yes. They could bring somebody else in. There's some big names out there. They could definitely they could definitely be factors within that storyline to help it continue, at least until WrestleMania. But it could potentially go longer than that. It depends on what they want to do with it. Like, I don't see anything I can't call anything significant at this point, unless The Rock comes and says, I'm going to face you at WrestleMania or something.
But is he really needed? Maybe not right now, but will he ever really be needed?
He might not, but when you think about the fact they've got the Hollywood writer strike right now, and and that's affecting acting and stuff too, because there's not really much things getting made there unless you're doing some things independently. When it comes to that situation, The Rock's got some extra free time they normally wouldn't have, and definitely, get a few bucks by coming back into WWE, and they could find some way creative for him. But I don't think you can jumpstart that process in a couple of weeks of writing it in there and make it to where it's beneficial. Whatever's going to happen has been planned out for quite some time. So even if that does happen, then this has been in the works for quite some time behind the scenes, and discussions have been made even before the writer's strike, potentially, that they planned for that to actually happen, because they pre-plan a lot of this stuff in advance. There's not really much that's changed on the fly, unless your name is VKM and you show up and you don't like what they have and you change it on the fly after they've been planning it for 6 months.
2 seconds before you walk through the gorilla.
Yeah. It is 7:59 and 30 seconds Eastern time, and we got 30 seconds before we go live, and VKM walks in there strutting and says, you're not going to do that opening monologue, you're going to do this. So the talent has now 11 seconds to learn a 2-minute speech.
Right.
Oh man, VKM, there's so many people that I know are doing this, but sometimes it's not even like that. Just laughing so hard at that lady on the right-hand side. She laughed so hard. Like, it looks uncomfortable to watch her laugh. Like, she tried a little too hard for that one. But that's how I feel about VKM and his attempts to keep up with today's society. And it's definitely not working. So if first you don't succeed, you try and try again. Eventually, if you keep failing like 100 times in a row, you got to stop. You got to get off the ride. It's time to hang it up. Absolutely. Like Jim Ross. But when it comes to this bloodline story, you got a great take on it. And I was hoping you would go out so that way I could talk a little bit about what you But unfortunately, I had to be the one to disagree with the other person in a different way that maybe isn't the most favorable. But we had to have one topic on this show today where we really like that, and I had to. It's part of the show. It's part of the fun. But Let's see what the fans guys say as they were keeping up with what we were talking about with the professional wrestling. Oh, Roman Reigns is going to lose at SummerSlam, says Ike doesn't give a fuck.
Is it cleanly, though? I don't think that happens. Like you said.
Either way, you know we're going to react like this.
Damn!
Especially if he gets it for the championship, if he actually beats Roman clean and gets the title, which, nobody's seeing that happening. As long as he's had that. It's like my long hair. Even though I got a little slick back right now, I look professional for the camera. I haven't cut it in almost 3 years. It's like the 1,000-day championship reign. You think we're going to just go ahead and just make an exclusive decision like that to just give it up on the fly? No. This hair is going to get donated at some point, and somebody's going to enjoy this weave who can't grow their hair out. I'm going to donate it for Locks for Love. It's going to happen sooner than later because it's getting hot out here in these streets. I'm getting tired of doing it. But anyway, at some point, Roman's going to get tired of holding the championship and doing the grueling part-time schedule and have to give up that championship. Or they're going to get tired of having Roman doing the part-time reign, and things are going to change there too. It's probably going to happen within the next year, but the question is when, where, and how.
It depends on what Fox says too.
Yes, because Fox has definitely a big say in what's going on because their big time show is on SmackDown on Fox.
Is Jay a big enough talent to carry the torch?
I don't see anybody on that brand right now that could do it. Maybe LA Knight could at some point.
At some point, yeah. Not right now though.
Think about the pops. Think about the pops that my man says when he comes out there and says.
Yeah.
The pops that he gets when he says that. And even even though this clip is from NWA Power, this clip has gone a long way as well. Let
me talk to you.
It's going over, man. The man's 39 years old and finally hitting his prime stride. So
he needs to bring back the dummy phrase.
Yes,
show his Maryland roots.
Yeah, when he said the whole Eli Drake stuff, he'd be like, "Dummy, yeah, dummy, yeah." I remember that stuff.
Yeah,
yeah, that was definitely great because he's only a few months or less than a year or so away from saying this.
Come after me. I'm a man. I'm 40.
However, when you look at him in the ring, and especially his charisma, he doesn't act like he's about to turn 40. He's definitely proven that he hasn't suffered a lot of injuries. He's taking good care of his body because for someone to finally break in, like literally finally break into the big time. I mean, we've seen him throughout his time, with Impact and ROH, and then of course with NWA Power around the time the pandemic got here and everything.
Right.
We've seen the impacts that he's made, but he never really got that chance until 2021 when he finally made it into NXT. So I think, to answer your question, it may not be, it's definitely not going to be a SummerSlam, but it may be next year at some point, even if it's he's dethroning Seth. I feel like with what they're building on SmackDown and with what they've got, he could potentially be the future champion on SmackDown.
I don't mean to take over your show, but what's his comparison? What do you think about his comparison to The Rock and Stone Cold? A lot of people saying
funny.
That he's next.
It's been funny because I think that they just want to combine him to Stone Cold with the right.
Right.
With all that, because of course when Stone Cold, and we got it here with this when he said this.
What?
So like the way he's saying yeah, and of course he said hell yeah, but then you think of The Rock's charisma, and I see like maybe the body language and certain influences coming from the Attitude Era because. When you think of him being 39, that's only a few years older than me, and you're around the same age as well, too. So it's like we all grew up in that same time. We watched the Attitude Era. So there's, as you see with like my soundboard and stuff, like there's things that are inspired from that time frame.
Yes, sir.
So when I think about all that in perspective, yeah, he might have some comparisons to him because those might have been wrestlers that he was a fan of and resembled certain things, but when it comes to certain things he's doing charismatically and some things that he's saying, I would say that the comparisons are there. Is he a ripoff and stealing from him? Nah, I don't agree with that.
Oh, yeah, he's not that. Yeah, I think he's really just being himself. And like you said, he's been influenced by some of the best people in the industry ever to do it.
Absolutely. I mean, you can definitely see where he is comfortable with saying.
Let me talk to you.
It is. That is a smart phrase right there, too. I mean, it's simple. It's to the point. You can say it within a second. Like, and it's a quick catchphrase. Like, that was actually whoever developed that, whether it was him or somebody in his corner, knew what they were doing creatively when it came to that one.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to have some peanut butter and jello sandwiches, but can decide if I should go with grape or strawberry jealous. Well, with today's menu sick diggy, I'll have to say Nutella version of the jelly is what you can have and put on there. You can combine your peanut butter and Nutella jealous, and that's what you get for your meaty sleazeball subs intro for earlier. It's time for you to give me a new one, because you've been giving me the same one for the past few episodes. Give me a new one to read, my man. Give me a new one. Perhaps I should try the black cherry instead. Well, see, you already beat me to a different flavor. You can have black cherry, Nutella, whatever you want there, sick. Just do it in private, and, don't be like Ike, because sometimes we're going to put Ike in timeout for the things that he says on here, so don't be an Ike. Wait, what about Alpha and Sika? Sika is Roman's father after all. I mean, yeah, that's a good point, but we already saw them at the beginning when they were passing the torch to Roman when he became the tribal chief, okay? So once you do that, like it's like when we vote in the president of the United States, regardless of whatever they pull for. I don't even want to make this political show, but whoever's the president, when he's the president, we got to deal with it 4 years at least till you get to vote around again. It's not you can say a few days later, oh, I made a bad decision. It's time to get him on out of there. It ain't going to work like this anymore. Like, no, it doesn't work like that. So the same thing goes here. You can't just have Rikishi waddle down there in that Rikishi thong, come out there and tell him, just imagine that, like 50-some years old. Him coming down there and saying what he's going to say, and at the, you're going to change the bloodline, you're going to make things better real quick. It's not going to work like that. Alpha and Sika are the same way. You've already got a tribal chief. You got to write the story in another way, because unless Rikishi's going to come back as a performer and wrestle, which is not, there's no point really to get him involved.
Right.
So, and Michael Williams in the house. Old Jonah, we call him Jonah because he looks like Jonah Hill. Michael Williams says, we the ones. He definitely got that one up, so we'll put the one on up for Jonah right there. Shout out to Jonah right there. My boy Jay is going to give Roman an ass whooping. That would, I think that, I don't know if he'll win, but I feel like you're going to be right about that one.
Yeah.
Shout out to that one for you there, Jonah, when it comes to that. The bloodline story is strong and doesn't need Rikishi. It actually needs to die out so someone else can make a championship run. I mean, that's a good and kind of brash point there, Deets. On one hand. But yeah, this is that neither you or I can answer off top. So if you got a great answer for who's going to grab this torch and run with it, even though Jey Uso is ranked at a 90 on this year's WWE video game, and Jimmy's at an 89. Just because he's one above in rating, I don't feel like that's good enough to pass the torch to him quite yet.
I mean, we do have a Bobby Lashley that we haven't seen yet. Bobby Lashley and Roman. That might be good.
Yeah, but Bobby Lashley's done some great things with the WWE Championship before.
Yeah,
but he's up there in age now.
He is.
I mean, that's the biggest thing. Now, if this was all going on when Bobby Lashley was 10 years younger, I would say without a question, absolutely he deserves to be in that conversation. But when wrestlers get to this point, when they're like approaching mid-40s, you don't know how much more time they got. We already are talking about Edge retiring soon because of how old he is. We didn't even think he's going to come back, with everything to begin with, and he did.
Did he return again?
Who?
Did he return again? Edge?
Yeah, Edge has been back.
Because he disappears and then he always comes right back. He came back like 30 times already within the last year.
Yeah, I knew that I was going to get that out of you at some point because you guys been talking so much hype about that on the Wrestling Realm, because it does get annoying at times because he has these like super grand returns every time. He's the only person.
I love you, Edge, but good God, you just stay for a little while. Good Lord.
He's the only person that I know that can have this grand opening, disappear for like 9 days, and then come back and have the same grand opening. Like we didn't even see him 9 days before.
Right.
Oh man, definitely check out the Wrestling Realm so you can see more of their takes on that. They got some great clips in the archives that comes from that, the shenanigans that comes from that.
Yes, sir.
Just like we have here. You guys love the shenanigans on this show. You would definitely love the shenanigans on that one. Rikishi would bring a new standard to the Usos as their manager and force the hand of Heyman and Roman, says Jonah.
I'm not sure. Like I said, I'm done with trying to predict the whole storyline now. It's just I want to sit back as a fan and just enjoy it.
Because we've spent
great storytelling.
We've spent 3 years trying to guess it. Like most of the time we're wrong.
Right.
Yeah, we would have never guessed that he would have the championship still 3 years later.
Right.
But because he won it at SummerSlam 3 years ago. Against in the weirdest of ways with old Bray. Where the hell has he been?
Oh, no. Hey, I ain't even gonna touch that one. Oh my gosh.
I think Uncle Howdy scared him off. Well, there's Alpha Jr. that's still in the indie circuit. Plus, the Usos and Solo have another brother that's on the indies as well. Perhaps Jacob Fatu might appear out there out of nowhere. And and some of those names you mentioned are affiliated with MLW. So everything going on the East Coast here that we've seen, and some of them like Lance that we talked about earlier are working in Japan, can establish their names a little bit more. You never know. But do I see the bloodline being this strong of a story 2 years from now to say that this has been going on for 5 years and leave that window of opportunity for them potentially in the next year or so to join? I don't think so. I don't think I don't think it's going to be going strong in year 4. Like at some point they're going to have to separate them because they've already got the vision of the cracks within the bloodline because the Usos are out. So,
right.
There's only but so far the Civil War can go.
Exactly.
Who's still in the Indies but was still in WWE is Manu. Yep, he was, but that was like 2008. So it was like 15 years ago when was last time we saw Alpha Jr. there. Alpha and Sika would help the cause in the storylines. I mean, I get what you guys are saying, but with what we were just saying and everything that we beefed up with what we were saying, I just disagree with bringing in Rikishi or whatnot. A lot of people forget that LA Knight was on The Rock's reality show.
Oh.
He was. Which reality show was that? I know he did a reality show, but I can't think of the name of what the reality show was. The Rock and Rikishi would have bigger impacts the storyline in Alpha and Sika. Okay. Well, I guess
of course, as far as names, yeah.
Yeah.
But as far as like being the elders, you know what I'm saying? Like, because you still had that one little piece with Solo, like I mentioned before, with Solo. Who sent him?
Yeah.
Like, who's really in charge? Because Roman is not in charge. He still references the elders as like slightly above him. Every once in a while he'll slip up and he'll say it, and it seems like the elders are still above him. Slight.
But see, I have to think of the only person out of the entire family who's had heavyweight championship success other than Roman Reigns. And I'd have to say the elders got to be the Rock pulling the strings for fucking Hollywood.
That's it.
That's the only thing I can think of. That's the only thing I think of because Rikishi is a great little curveball to throw in there, and that's definitely what we're hearing as far as discussion when you're reading stuff on the internet. I just don't think that I just feel like if there's anybody that's going to help propel it even higher than what it is, because Rikishi didn't reach the heights to what The Rock did, and Roman Reigns has surpassed what Rikishi did. Even though Rikishi was a great performer with what he did, as the Sultan, what he did as make a difference Fatu and everything that he did before he became Rikishi. And Rikishi was definitely his greatest character. Still wasn't anywhere close to what The Rock's done. So I put all that in perspective. I got to think the only person that could be truly like overstep their boundaries and step on Roman's toes because he has reached greater success outside of WWE and beyond is the man who's the grandson of the High Chief Peter Maivia, and that is The Rock. Guys, thank you for participating with us here in the comments. We only got a couple more things left to do before we get on out of here. But the first thing we got to do before we go any further is acknowledge Brother Hugh's re-entry into the Vault of Fame.
Acknowledge me.
And that's right. With this episode 96, the In or Out Sports Debate, Brother Hugh is now in the Vault of Fame for a third time, a 3-time Vault of Fame inductee of the wrestling realm, as he is now moved on up on the leaderboard here. As we got Joey Raymond in first with 17, Rob Johnson in second with 14, Kyle Nash in third with 7, Darrell Owens in fourth with 6, Corey Mann in fifth with 5, James Brown, P. Alexander Wiley tied for 6 with 4 appearances apiece. And moving on up to 7th place, tied with the real Dwayne Allen, Michael Bish, Brian Snow, Cody Stewart, Lamont Thomas, and Brian H. Waters as now 3-time Vault of Fame inductees here on this show. We got to show Brother Hugh with the championship titles as he is hyped, ready to go, especially with the Baltimore Orioles game going on in the background. You got to love all that. As you could definitely tell that Brother Hugh is definitely in tune with this type of episode that we have here on SIRTOBA Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome, which you can find on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Click on the links below in the description. You can find Brother Hugh's links as well in that description, where you can find him at the Wrestling Realm. You can find everything that I'm a part of as well. And if you want to donate some Willie Bucks action to this cash.app/$DWillie87, feel free to throw a little tippy for this episode 96, the In or Out Sports Debate. Guys, before we go on any further, again, we have to acknowledge Brother Hugh's entry into the Vault of Fame. But now we have to take this into the final word to discuss whatever is on our mind to this very end of this episode. And here with the final word, you know the drill, my man. Out of everything we discussed on this show or anything in sports, entertainment, life in general, this is your floor to discuss what's on your mind. Go ahead and let them know here for the final word.
Hey, straight up, just don't be a gump. That's it. Stay 100% gump proof. That's how we do it over here. Check me out. This is your boy, Has the Third, HASTHE to the 3RD. Check me out. I'm on all social media platforms. And also check us out at the Wrestling Realm. That's 2 W's. 2 W's.
Again, as you can see with his awesome belts that he had there. Didn't Brandon Guy hook y'all up with those or whatnot?
Yes, sir.
You guys, he hooked y'all up with those. That's some beautiful gold right there in that camera. You know, I got a little gold above my head. You know,
I see you.
You know, I got that live action WCW belt from back in the day, but it ain't nothing compared to the Wrestling Realm. I'm just glad to have a shirt here, but also I didn't even bring this one out earlier. I got the Monday Night Raw version of the Wrestling Realms t-shirt right here. You can find that on their website that's in the link description below. Guys, show some love to the Wrestling Realm. Get their merch at some point. I don't care if I got to pay for it. Y'all got to help me out to get one of those belts, because that belt is fire. Put it on the shelf above and help advertise for the Wrestling Realm at some point when you guys make that accessible to the public. But now it's time for my final word or whatnot. And, you know, first of all, I want to say a shout out to the fans. We've had some decent action in the comments throughout this show, and it's the live interaction with you guys is what makes this show special, and it's what makes this show special for me, and what made it. You know, it wasn't easy to come back from the things we've discussed throughout the episodes. With now this being the 6th episode since my return, but it's this type of interaction with the fans is special for me that encouraged me to do the things I've had to do to get back here. So thank you all out there that have been part of this, that are here each and every episode, even if you're not here for the entire episode, but just here in and out, pardon the pun, to be active within the show. Means a lot to me in the recovery process and everything I've had to do to rebuild the man out here in these streets. But couldn't do it without you guys. The comments from the fans, the interaction, the sharing of the content, the liking of it, the subscribing, even to my new platform, SIRTOBA Media on YouTube. You guys helped take a channel that was at like 3 subscribers a month ago to now we're at like 69. So let's keep that thing growing. We had like 10 subscribers on Facebook. Now we're up to like 600, you know, and that was within the past month or two. And the same thing with TikTok. TikTok's been ridiculous, man. And a couple 13,000 view videos and jumping on up there. And it wouldn't be possible without you guys out there viewing this stuff live, syndicated, and even the short clips that are posted throughout. So thank you all for the participation, for the words of encouragement, and being there, because, again, without you guys, this wouldn't be possible. But, you know, here for the final word, we are now at that point in the show where we have to look at one badass outro. For my man, Brother Hugh to my side right here, I am D. Willie Drew Willingham. Everybody stay safe out here in these streets.
SIRTOBA Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.